My father was in the Royal Navy, and my brother-in-law was in the Royal Marines. So it was just something that I felt was right to do. So I looked at joining the army. The chance to actually drive, a 60-odd ton tank that's 12 foot wide down the road, it's big boys' toys. Well, I remember we were posted at Catterick at the time, and I saw the Twin Towers go. So watching it live on TV, and at the time I was like, we're going to go to war. Apprehensive, nervous, but then again also excited that I was going to be able to do the job that I chose to do. When we first got there, one of the main things is like sand everywhere, how hot it was, and also having a shovel recce to go and dig a hole in the sand and get rid of the toilet that way. Our squadron leader and the Sergeant Major got all the squadron together and turned around and said, right, we are going to be going on this date, and I suggest you write your last letters at home. Having to write a letter to your loved ones, your parents, that they might be reading this, you've been killed. So it's very hard to actually put down in words what you want to put in a letter. So yeah, it's very, very emotional, that was. It was a case of, right, this is happening, it's not going to get called off.
I was working at Guy's Hospital at the time, and one of the nurses there happened to be in the Territorial Army as it was, and she explained it, and I thought, oh, that sounds really good. And I started going along, so I had the best of both worlds, really. So I think in that respect, I was really lucky. It didn't come as a real shock that when we got actually officially mobilised. If I'm going to be brutally honest, I was really excited by the prospect of actually putting into practice what we'd trained for. When they mobilised personnel from the whole of the UK. So I had not seen or met probably 3/4 of the staff that would be with me. Our mission was to take over from the regular field hospital that had been there already and had set the hospital up, and that was our remit. So the first time I was able to talk to all my staff was 48 hours before we went through the war fighting phase. It was a huge responsibility. It was the first mass mobilisation of the Territorial Army since the Second World War.
On the first night, as we moved forward, we didn't know there was chemical weapons in there, so we went across the border with our full chemical suits and respirators on, which was very, 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 very hot. Watching the traces go up and seeing all the oil fields alight with the thick black smoke and the burning smell and the noise of artillery, it was just unbelievable. It really hit home that, right, we're at war now.
There wasn't any situation that we couldn't deal with. We had a very experienced A&E consultant to shape sort of the accident emergency department. We had a young corporal who was a mortician and a funeral director. We had an environmental health officer with us, and I think his expertise was particularly valuable in managing the hospital from an environmental health perspective. I was just blown away at times, I really was.
We then moved up to Bridge 1, which you could look across and see Basra International Airport. So we were sitting there one day and white flag, the woman opened her arms up, and in this rags was a 3-year-old that had been hit by artillery and been sliced from the knee up to the thigh, and the skin was all hanging off. Luckily, it had been cauterized, but then to try and get it cleaned, I kept saying Basra and pointing that, to try to get them to Basra Hospital, but we didn't know if it was open, if it was still running, if they could get there even. I'd never know if that boy survived. I know I'd done the best I could for him, but could I have done maybe something else? Will live with me for the rest of my life. Whatever happened to that, that little 3-year-old.